Kakadosh Shavua Tov, good morning. We are on Daf Lamed Vav right now. This is Masechet Yoma Lamed Vav 36, but we're just going to start Lamed Hamul Bet on the Mishnah on the bottom. The Mishnah of the bottom says, right, Balo etzel Paro. So the Kohen Gadol used to come to his parachatat, to his bull of the sin offering. Uparo hayomed batzafon azara. His par was in the north of the azara, between the ulam and the mizbeach. Roshola darom, his head was towards the south. Ufanav, the face was towards the west. HaKohen omed b'mizrach, the Kohen was standing on the east. Ufanav le'ma'arav, and his face towards the west. So meshte yadav alav, he used to put his two hands on him. Mitvaden, he used to do vidui. Kacha yomer, this is what he used to say. Ana Hashem, right? Please Hashem, this is the four-letter name of Hashem. Aviti peshat tichatel lefanecha ani veti. I sinned, I did iniquities against you for myself and my family. Ana Hashem, please Hashem, kapena lavonot the peshaim v'lachataim. Right, the Mishnah 35b on the bottom. Right, please forgive our sins, iniquities that I sinned, that I've against you, me, my family. Just like it's written in the book of Moses, on this day he's going to atone for you. And they answer after him. So I'm going to share with you the screen. This is the picture. Here you have the Balo Etzel Paro Omed. So again, one more time. Here you got the Mizbeach and the Ulam. This is the Ulam. Okay, this is the Ulam. Here it is. This is the Ulam. This is the Mizbeach. Yeah, so it says over here, right? It used to be right over here. And the Kohen was in the, that's what it says over here. The Kohen is going to be, right? It says, Mizrach. So the Kohen is in the Mizrach. This is east, Mizrach. So the Kohen is in the east, and he puts his head on top. Now, the face was facing towards the Ma'arav. Here, the actual par, right, was, it says over here, the head is towards the south. This is Darom, south. So the head is towards the south, but the face itself is facing the west. So look at the picture here. Everyone sees? Here he's without. No, I just did it that way so that way you could see my cursor. You have a picture there? Very good. Okay? Okay, let's go. So now says the Gemara. We're on the Gemara, Lamed Vav Amud Aleph on the top. Says the Gemara, right? Man shamat le'damar. Who's the Tana that taught that the Tzafon Azara is between the Ulam and the Mizbeach? That's considered Tzafon. Who's the Tana that holds that? Which means who's the Tana that holds that it was in between, right? That means it had to be like towards more of the north, right? But you have a picture there also. If you see in the books, all the books, yeah, they have a pictures there. Okay. So it says Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon here. So Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon, right? The time was learned to the Braita. Ezu Tzafon. What is the north? Mikirsha Mizbeach Tzafoni, from the wall of the northern part, Minakira Tzafoni of the Mizbeach, Ve'ad Kotel Azara, until the wall of the Azara. Uchneged Kol HaMizbeach Kulo Tzafon, and Keneged the entire Mizbeach, it's considered the north. These are the words of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon Mosif Af Ben Olam Mizbeach. So Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon, he adds also between the Ulam and the Mizbeach. Rabbi Mosif Af Makom Drisat Raglei HaKohanim. Rabbi also would add on the place of the Raglei HaKohanim. Ve'av Makom Drisat Raglei Yisrael, and even the place of the Drisat Raglei Yisrael. Aval, however, though, from the Chalifot and Lifnim, right? Kakol Modim Shu Pasul. Everyone holds that it's going to be Pasul. So again, there in the second picture, there in the art scroll, you have what's called Safon according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. That's like one shade of a color. Okay. Then you have on the left side, you have a Shetach Hanusaf Ladat Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. That's Bet, number 2. Right? And then the third one is according to Rabbi, which adds in Azarat Kohanim and Azarat Israel. But if it's going to be more than that, for sure it's going to be disqualified. Let me see if I have also the pictures. So it says, yeah, so here, look. Here it is, Izu Mikir Tzafon. This is one picture. Okay, this is one of them. Okay? Oops. Okay, so this is the next one, which is shaded in. Right over here. Let me see the cursor. I'll do it like this so you can see. Here it's shaded in. So that's the second one, the second shita. That's Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. And this is according to Rabbi. So Rabbi's adding in this one. It's the same type of picture that you have in the art scroll. This is the Bet HaChalifot. So this you didn't have in the art school. Right, this one. This picture over here. Can you see it, Barak? Yeah. It says over here.
Where's Halifot?
Right here. Bet HaChalifot is where they used to have the clothing. So this area over here is disqualified according to everybody.
Where's it? Show me window.
This is Bet HaChalifot over here. You have it over here. Kol Modim right here. Bet HaChalifot. So he actually does a good picture. Very good. Okay.
Who makes that book? You have
The Metifta, it's called. A Mesifta. Fine. Okay. Next. So then it says, okay, Leima Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, velo Rabbi. So what are we going to say that our kavanah to say is that our Mishnah is like Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, not like Rabbi? Why? Because maybe we're going to say that even according to Rabbi, that he says that also from the Mizrach of the Mizbeach is called Safon, which means that you could do the other way, which was Azarat Israel and Azarat Kohanim. So if so, Rabbi is not mitim to Mishnah, right? That he said only from the Ulan to the Mizbeach is going to be Safon. So says the Gemara, Filu Teimar Rabbi, even if you're going to tell me it's Rabbi, Hashtar Rabbi ad Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Mosif, ad Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon lo Mosif. Says what? You're only going to tell me that he's adding on to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda and he's not adding on to Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon, right? Obviously, if you're going to tell me now that even the portion which is going to be to the east of the Mizbeach is Kodesh Kodashim, even though Kedushato is Kala, it's much lighter, so it's further away from the Echal. So Kol Sheken, right, when it's going to be between the Ulam and the Mizbeach, which is a much stronger Kedusha, right? So Rebbe was adding on to Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon. So says the Gemara, Anan Hachi Kamninan. This is really what we meant to say. If you're going to tell me that Be'emet it's Rebbe, why don't you just say it's the entire Azara? Remember, according to Rebbe, the entire northern part was all kosher to do the slaughtering. So why don't we just say that? Elamai, but rather, what do we have to say? It's Rabbi Zabir Shimon. It's not Rebbe, it's Rabbi Zabir Shimon. So says the Gemara, if it's like Rabbi Zabir Shimon, the nukme ben mizbeach v'lekotel. So why don't we just say that it's between the mizbeach, right, and the kotel, which means in between the altar and the wall. Yeah. So he says, Elamai lechalemema. What are you going to tell me? Mishum chulshat the Kohen Gadol. Meaning, since the Kohen Gadol is so weak, remember, that day he had to stay up all night. He was in Ta'anit. Yeah, so now if they're going to put the par so far away from the Echal, the Kohen Gadol had to walk much further.
Carry the blood.
Right? So we wanted to minimize what it was, the burden on the Kohen Gadol. It was already hard enough. So what? You're going to start making it harder for him. So therefore we used to, the Rebbe Nami, so too the same thing. Mishum Chulshat the Kohen Gadol, the same thing. Meaning that we really be'emet our Mishnah could be like Rebbe. But we wanted to make it as close as possible so that we didn't have to walk so much because it was too much. So that's why we did it like that. Okay? So says the Gemara.
Head towards the south.
Yeah, the head towards the south and the face towards the west. Hechi mishkachala, right? What's the case exactly? Amar Rav says, be'okemet rosho, which means that they used to tilt the head towards the right. And that was a picture that I showed you. That means even though his head was towards the south, the face was towards the west. Okay? Be'okemet rosho. So says the Gemara, v'nukme lehedya. So why don't we just put him completely like that? Which means, why don't we just put his entire body, whatever it is? Why is it that we have to put the body facing towards the south and then the head towards the west? So Amar Abaye Gezer Hashem Yerbitz Kelelim. He says, no. Maybe all of a sudden, what's going to happen is he's going to make his necessities, and it's a gnai for the mizbeach that all of a sudden now that the back part of the bull is facing the mizbeach. It's a gnai. So that's why we had that the face, meaning the head, was facing the mizbeach, but it was tilted towards the west. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan. So we learned, right, in a Braita. Keitzad Somech. How do you do the mitzvah of semicha? Okay, just remember that that's Hamotzi. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah? So he says, Keitzad Somech. How do you do semicha? So hazevach omed batzafon. The zevach is going to be in the north. Ufanav lema'arav. So the korban is going to be in the north, and the face is going to be towards the west. Ve'asomech, and the one that's doing semicha, omed b'mizrach, is standing in the east. Ufanav lema'arav.
You got a picture
right?
there?
Well, let me see here. We should have a picture. Yeah, right here. Hazevach omed batzafon, right? So remember, this is the north. Okay, so zevach omed batzafon ufanav lema'arav. His face towards the ma'arav. So this is the face is towards the ma'arav. Remember, this is ma'arav, the west. Okay, he's going to put his two hands in between the two horns. Okay? This is according to Rashi Rambam. You understood? Here you have the Kohen Gadol, here you have the regular Kohen. Right? So therefore, and he's standing in the east. Okay? So it says here, so he cannot umitvadeh, and he's going to do the vidui in the chatat, right? Ve'avon ve'chata ve'al hasham ve'avon hasham ve'al olah, right? Avon leket shicha u'peah ma'aseh sheni, which means like this. On the chatat, he's doing vidui, right? What is the vidui? All the viduis that you would need a chatat. On the asham, you're doing all the avons that you do on an asham, right? That means on the chatat, on the sin offering, you're going to start confessing on all the sins that you would need for sin offerings. On guilt offerings, which is asham, all the averot that you have for guilt offerings. Now, when it comes on the korban olah, you're going to do it on the avon of leket shicha u'peah ma'aser ani. These words are basically. Remember, leket shicha u'peah is basically the things that you have to leave over for the poor people. The corner of the field, if you forgot things in the field, meaning that, or things that if you had 2 stalks that fell and it wasn't 3, all these things, they're called leket shicha u'peah or ma'aser ani, which goes to the ani. Okay? So in all these cases, right, this is what you have to do for the vidui. Okay? Fine. Okay. So now it says here as follows. These are the words of Rabbi Yosef Galilei. Rabbi Kiva says, "En olah ba'a ela ala seh ve'alot yiseh." No, the olah, which is the burnt offerings, were only coming to atone for the positive commandments and negative commandments, which could be fixed with a positive commandment. That's the only thing that an olah is going to atone. It's not going to atone for other things. So this is what it's going to be atoning for. Okay. So now the Gemara says, right, Lamed, we're just on the bottom, the last line of Lamed Vav Mudalef. So what are we dealing with? What is the machloket between Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Kiva? Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Lamed Vav Mubet, right, 36b. Belav de nevela kamipalge. The machloket is a negative commandment of eating a nevela. Why? This is a lav nitak laseh because we have a positive commandment right afterwards. So it's a lav nitak laseh, which is fixed by a positive commandment. So Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yosef are arguing on this, right? Why? Because do we say is going to be ne'enash b'malkut or not, right? Which means usually on negative commandments we get lashes. However, though, usually there's a general rule that if you could fix it with a positive commandment, there's no lashes.
How do you fix nevela?
What?
How do you fix nevela?
So it says over here, lav zeni taka seh, because there's a mitzvah to seh which is written right afterwards. It says nevela is the flesh of an animal that died without shechita. Yeah. Correct? It's not a terefa. Terefa means, remember, nevela and terefa are both kosher animals. Right. We're not talking about a behemoth teme'ah.
Yeah, but how do you fix nevela? You can't fix it.
One second, try. What? One more time. Nevela and terefa are kosher animals. Terefa means that it wasn't going to live the year. Right. Nevela means that it died without shechita. So, for example, if a person goes into Publix, chas v'shalom, and they buy non-kosher meat, we call it terefa, but it's not terefa. Nothing to do with terefa. It's also not so it depends. If it comes from a cow, so then it's a nevela. It's a nevela. It's not a terefa, right? We call it taref because anything non-kosher we call taref, or we call nevelot to terefot. Right? But if, for example, if somebody's going to buy pig, that's not a nevela and terefa. That's a behemat me'ah. It's a completely different terminology. We just come and say it's not kosher. You understand? But technically, if you want to go into the nitty bitties, there's a word for everything. Nevela means it's a kosher animal without shechita. That means even if it died without shechita or you did a non-proper shechita, that's called nevela. Terefa means you did a shechita, right? Or you didn't, doesn't matter. But it wasn't going to live the year. It wasn't going to live the year, so therefore it's considered a terefa. That's why they come and they check after they do the slaughtering. They come and they check the insides of the animal. Yeah, exactly. Okay, they come and they check the animal. So it says like this: to do with the nevela, it's written. Remember, nevela means that it died without shechita. So the pasuk says that you're not allowed lo tochlu kol nevela. You're not allowed to eat the nevela. Immediately afterwards, it says that you could give it to the ger which is living in your dwellings, meaning a ger toshav, meaning a non-Jew, but he keeps Shabbat mitzvot ben Noach, or to a goy. Now, even though this is a positive commandment of giving the nevela to a ger or selling it to a goy, it's written after the prohibition of the eating it. For sure, it's not talking about somebody that already did the avirah. Because if you already ate it, it's not around.
Too late.
It's too late, so you can't do it anymore. But for sure, it's not a mitzvah of a tikkun of the Avera on these two, but it's a separate mitzvah. So therefore, it just says, Lo tochlu nevela, right? But what are you supposed to do? Give it to the ger or sell it to the goy. Okay, so it's not a regular lavanitak laaseh. Okay, so Rabbi Akiva holds, right, that this is not a lavanitak laaseh, and therefore we're not going to differentiate between this lav and another lav, and it's lav ma'alyahu, which means even though it was written right after mitzvah taseh in the Torah, you get lashes. Why do you get lashes? Because a regular mitzvah, a regular negative commandment, you get lashes for it. Rabbi Yosef says, no. Since it's love, this negative commandment was written immediately right after a positive commandment, it's love ma'alyahu. It's not a good love. And therefore, since it's not a genuine negative commandment, right, you don't get lashes on it. That means just like you don't get lashes on a negative commandment, which is fixed by a positive commandment, so you don't get lashes on this type of a commandment either. Which means like this, for example, one famous one that we always bring down is stealing. It says, right, lo tignov, or you're not allowed to steal. Right, but what does it say right afterwards? The shiva to gezilah, that if you do steal, you have to give it back. So the fact that it's written that you have to give it back, if somebody steals, they don't get lashes. Why? Because they could fix it. How do they fix it? Give it back, and then they don't have to get lashes anymore. So because of that, there's no lashes on it. So what happens here is that it says over here, the entire concept that we spoke about is that, again, the same thing, that according to Shittat Rabbi Yosef, even though for sure this has nothing to do with the fixing, but you can't fix it if you already ate it, right? It comes afterwards, and therefore it's not a good love. That's what he says. So Abaye comes and he says, no, according to everybody, love the nevela, according to everybody, this love, negative commandment of nevela, is not a good love. So what is the machloket then? The machloket is that it's written, there's a positive commandment to do with leket, shicha u'peah, that it says, le'ani v'lager ta'azov otam. That for the poor person and for the ger, you have to leave it there for them. That Rabbi Akiva holds that the word ta'azov is mi'ikara mashma, which means that before a person already transgresses the negative commandment and he's going to take it, the Torah says, do not take it. Rabbi Yosef says, hashta mashma, it's mashma only over now. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita, Ketza mitzvah, how are you going to do the mitzvah of vidui? So it says, you say, aviti pashati v'chatati. You said that I did my iniquities. Remember that each one is a different type of a sin. Okay, pashati and chatati is by accident. Pashati is with negligence, right? That he did it purposely. Aviti, each one is a different, right? It says we're going to explain later on the three different lashonot. Okay, the same halacha would apply to the seed of mishtaleach, to the seed which is being sent to Azazel. He says, "Vitvada alav v'kol v'not b'nitzav v'kol b'shem v'chot adam." V'chen Moshe, also by Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, "Nosei avon v'fresh v'chata v'nakeh." These are the words that are being. Chachamim says like this: Avonot elu zedonot. When it says the words avonot are zedonot, which means that you're doing it purposely with kavanah. V'chen woman, it also says that a person does something purposely. So avonava, he has it. So that's avonot. Peshaim are meradim. Peshaim are rebellious people. That means they're doing it because of merid, rebellion. They're doing it like lachis, to make someone upset. Meaning, stam avonot, an avon is done purposely. But it's not lachis. Just listen, you go to the Yetzirah and you just have to do it. But the pshaim is mamash because of rebellion. V'chen omer, melech moav pashavi. Ve'omer, and it says, az tivshal livna ba'etahi. Lechol chatotam, when it says chatat, elu shegagot. These are the ones which are done accidentally. V'chen omer, nefesh ki techada b'shgagat. So those are the three different lashonot. So either it's a sin which is done purposely, a sin which is done accidentally, or a sin which is done through rebellion. Okay, three different sins. So he says, 1 second. If you're going to come and you're going to start confessing about things which are done purposely and things which are done with rebellion, now you're going to come and you're going to start confessing on things which are done accidentally. But rather the opposite. You first started chatati aviti pashati. You have to go upwards, meaning you're going chatati, which is accidental. Then aviti, I did it purposely, and then pashati, I did it with rebellion. That's the order that you have to do it. That's what's written by David HaMelech. It says, Chatani mavotenu v'inu shanu. V'chem Shlomo, it says, Chatanu v'inu shanu. V'chem Daniel, it says, Chatanu v'inu shanu maranu. So basically, it makes sense, meaning that first you're going to go with accidental, and then you're going to go with a purpose, and then you have to go up. You're not going to go down. Amen. But rather, that which Moshe said, was the other way around. So 1 second. David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, they're all going upwards. Moshe Rabbeinu is going downwards. What's going on? So he says, Amar Moshe lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says Moshe Rabbeinu in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel olam, בשעה שישראל חוטאים לפניך ועושים תשובה, עשה להם זדונו כשגגות. Moshe Rabbeinu was telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please, when Bnei Yisrael are going to sin in front of you and they're going to do teshuvah, make for them their zidonot, their purposeful ones, like shkagot, like accidental ones.
Like the
Teshuvah. Yeah, exactly. So he says, Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Rav says Rabbi Shmuel in the name of Rav, halacha kedivrei chachamim. The halacha is like chachamim, that's what we do. Chatati avitu pashati. So we go upwards, we don't go downwards. So it says, obviously, pshita, yachiv rabim lachak rabim. Obviously, whenever you have a machloket rabim chachamim, right? Yachiv rabim lachak rabim. You go like the public. So it says, no. I would have thought to say mistaber tamed rabim that the logic of rabim is stronger. The concept because he has the pasuk from Moshe Rabbeinu. Meaning the other kamashmanan, we still go like the rabbis. Meaning that even though one of them has a pasuk from the Torah and the other ones is from Nevi'im, we still will go like the rabbis because they are the general public. It's not just the one person Rabbi. Okay? How did Nachit kamed Rabba? There was somebody that came in front of Rabba. Right? This is on Kippur. Ve'avad ki Rabbi Meir, and he did like Rabbi Meir. Amarle, he said, Shavat Rabbanan ve'avad ki Rabbi Meir. What, you left the rabbis and you did like Rabbi Meir? Amarle, he said, ki Rabbi Meir, I hold like Rabbi Meir. It's right that the Moshe just like it's written in the Torah, Moshe Rabbeinu. So therefore, that's why he went and the guy did that. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Right where by the two dots on the bottom. There's a huge thing here in the poskim, right? That basically what are we supposed to do? But the majority of the opinions is they do like what we do. But it's like Chachamim. So, there's Shulchan Aruch, there's this, that. Okay, fine. Tanu Rabbanan, Lamevav bet towards the bottom, two dots. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Okay, Vechiper. What does it mean here? Vechiper ba'ad uvad beto. So Aaron HaKohen brought his parachatat and then he atoned. Vekaparat varim aktum medaber. We're talking about kaparat of vidui. Are we talking about vidui or kaparat amim, or is it the blood? Meaning, what's doing the atonement? The blood that's sprinkled on the mizbeach, or is it the confession that we're doing there?
The blood.
So it says here, Areanidan, I want to come and I want to be judging the what? That it says kapara by the part of the Kohen Gadol, and it's written over there by Sira Mishlech also kapara. Just like the kapara, which is by the Sira Mishtaleach, is only vidui, right? But there's no blood. The Sira Mishlech is thrown off the entire body, right? You throw it off the cliff, right? So to here, the kapara, which is brought down the part, is also going to be vidui, not the blood, right?
Not the blood?
Not the blood, no. Yeah? The Imam Shechal Omar, now he comes and he says, now if you're going to tell me, it says, he says, 1 second, but how could it be the kapara if it was still not done shchita? Meaning the fact that it's written kaparat varim beforehand also shows the same thing. Because there's no blood yet. So you didn't do shchita. So how could it say it atoned if there's no blood? So obviously it's on the confession. So the confession is a real thing. So says the Gemara, what does it mean being nashich haloma? What does it mean if you wanted to bring a proof from here for the fact that you still didn't slaughter it? So v'chitim, if you're going to tell me nelaf mina sayir shenasa bifnim, if you're going to tell me that you want to learn it from the korban sayir, the he-goat, which is done on the inside, shekaparat to b'damim, that here Richard is correct, that the kapara is in the blood, and it's not with a vidui. It says v'chiper, and in this case, it's not still done.
It can't be blood.
Right, so it can't be the blood because it still wasn't slaughtered. If it wasn't slaughtered, so you're not going to do the blood.
It's very unusual.
Then,
it's a one-off. It's very
yeah, no, but so basically there's two different ones. So there's going to be certain ones that the confession is the kapara, and certain ones where it's going to be the confession is not the confession, and certain ones are going to be the blood. Okay, and then Bezat Hashem, we continue. This is going to be for the Tuesday daf, so Bezat Hashem will do it on Tuesday.